Hey, welcome into the live stream. We're going to get into some altcoins today and also dive into a few projects that will be in some different categories. Take a look at, are there some DCA opportunities right now as the markets start to adjust a little bit after Hong Kong? It'll be a good show. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. We'll start off in the overall markets. If you look at the current market cap, I'll zoom in on that a little bit right there, around 2.2 trillion right now, volume at around 82 billion on the 24 hours. So interesting overall. I think the key here with the markets in general, we saw a little bit of pullback obviously on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Most, I would say, the Hong Kong situation where the ETFs did not launch with great tenacity, and of course the markets have kind of gone into that direction. So Bitcoin is still down about 10% almost on the week. ETH down almost 8% on the week as well. And we'll get into some news. We do have a poll today, so make sure and participate in that. We'll get into some of that, reveal that number, and of course, don't forget to drop some questions in over on the side. We'll try to get to some of that as well. All right, a couple of things happening. One, of course, is BUIDL. BUIDL continues to be a rock star, world's largest tokenized treasury fund, now surpasses Franklin Templeton. Many of you will recognize this chart right here. Let me kind of get in a little closer right there. You can kind of see where BUIDL has now overtaken Franklin Templeton. And if you look at the list right here, remember that's on Ethereum, BlackRock, BUIDL, now hitting a 375 mil on their market cap, which is just now overtaking Franklin Templeton. And there's some other things to that we'll get into on, on real world assets that I'll show you guys here in a minute. That's kind of very cool to watch. So stick around for that. I want to go over also to a clip because we're going to get into a quick clip by Raj. He's talking a little bit more. This is Solana Raj about Avalanche. Listen in.
Okay, so Raj, say something about Avalanche that you admire.
One, I'll say, as you can kind of tell, I think Solana loves competition. I think Emin is probably the most ferocious L1 founder that I know. The second thing I'll say is Chris Berniski has this framework of how L1 architectures might converge over time. And Keone was talking about store of value. Bitcoin has clearly proven that and wins that. I think the other way that we see divergence happening is monolith and integrated designs like Solana, where Solana is kind of the largest market share, and then over in sovereign chains and the idea that anyone can run their own chain. Really, Avalanche and Cosmos are the clear winners. And Cosmos is it's an OG project, and it's not that coordinated. I think Avalanche brings the coordination and the ability for developers to configure their own chains how they want. So I like that about their design, and obviously it's a function of Emin's DNA and his great vision as a founder.
Thank you so much, and we very much like the engineering work Solana did.
Good. You are doing Celestia.
I'm doing Celestia too. Okay.
No.
Looks like they're having fun with it. I think the cool thing here is that you're talking about two of the major tokens out there, the blue chips, and many people ask, is this the time to buy the dip? Is this the time to maybe get into an asset that maybe you have not had a chance to get into before? Avalanche and Solana are the two, obviously, the ones that I watch the most, just because I think those have the most pump potential, especially in this next level of a bull run that we will cycle into. So Avalanche, of course, doing a lot here. If you are not following them over on X, you should do that at least, because if anything, you're going to get a little bit more insights to what they're doing as a chain and really kind of where their direction is going as a whole. Now, we have them on the show quite often. I think John Woo's probably been on 5 or 6 times. And it's probably about time for that too. And by the way, if you think we should get one of the founders of one of these projects that you think maybe we haven't covered well enough or haven't covered here recently, drop it in the comments down over here. We'll try to definitely put it on the list. All right, a couple other clips I want to get into because we're going to go into some other details. And this is I think the scenario that's facing us right now is the market is in a little bit of a sideways action. So when you look at sideways action, likelihood is you're going to see a little bit of downturn. And or what we are seeing with Bitcoin, I'll show you a chart on that here in a bit. But the scenarios is going to be which categories do you start to maybe isolate in on? That's our poll today, which is going to get into gaming, real world assets, AI NFTs, and then also blue chips. The blue chips, of course, will be things like top 10, top 20 tokens of how that's playing out. And the other thing that I look at and I get most questions on is how do you play the Ethereum situation? Because ETH has had a real struggle with being able to continue. Let me jump over to the ETH chart just to give you guys a quick look on ETH. ETH we're looking at right now, 29.75. One thing is sentiment has continued to slide slightly with that big red candle. That, of course, has been coming in. This is, of course, the halving time. But that's, of course, coming in off of the pressure from what's been happening with Hong Kong and the ETF over there. Remember, ETH launched an ETF in Hong Kong. So that in itself has started to see some pressure. And I think, the same thing has happened with Bitcoin overall. I'm kind of curious, though, with Solana holding it at a 124, is this one that you would get into? Because our price point was around 130 when we would start watching this. And Solana has now dipped into that. It is going to get into possibly a little bit of pressure on price pressure right here, but I think it's in that zone around the 125 to 130 range. But if it breaks this is where we start to see now maybe coming down to around 117. That could be a point for Solana. AVAX is the other one that is a blue chip that would be interesting. This one has already come down to a pretty good, significant price recovery zone. The only thing with Avalanche, if you start to really look at Avalanche out further, is this zone right here around 28 bucks. That would be a danger zone because if we hit that, then it's a bit of a free fall all the way back down here to around $22 Avalanche. Would that be a point for you guys to jump into Avalanche? Because Avalanche, obviously, one of the projects that we really like long term. Let me know. Drop it in the comments over there. Further into this, we'll get into some detail as we start to break into other projects today. And some of those that I want to get into is in the gaming sector. Part of this is going to be around Immutable and Beam. Those are two of the projects that I think have opportunities here. When you look at how depressed some of these projects are, because we're going to show you a handful of gaming tokens that may not be perfect picks, but because of where they are on the charts, they might be. So it's something to kind of consider. This next clip I want to go to, this is IMX kind of talking about where they are and where the market is right now. Listen in.
Everyone is still massively underestimating how big Web3 gaming is going to be. There's $240 billion spent on video games every year. 150 of that are digital assets. Overnight, when players have the option to sell that, you have brand new monetization mechanisms, secondary marketplaces, royalties, but you also will take the TAM of gaming from $150 billion to trillions of dollars. Because any market with sufficient primary spot liquidity has secondary financial markets that are an order of magnitude larger than it. And gaming is now subsuming everything. It is bigger than music, movies, and TV combined, and it's compounding at 10% year on year. But the second thing is just gaming timelines. In previous bull runs, the financing bull run has been very quickly followed by a shipping bull run. Games take time. 2024, from our estimate, you'll have nearly 40% of these games being launched. There's been nearly $20 billion invested into games and gaming platforms in the last 4 years. This is far more than mobile gaming had in its nascent years. It's far more than free-to-play or the shift to social gaming. You could throw this much money at a toaster and it would have find product market fit. So I think this is the calm before the storm.
So Robbie Ferguson, obviously with IMX, he's got a dog in the hunt, in the sense that he is a platform that's really propping up a lot of different game projects out there. And I do see and talk to quite a few, not only influencers, but also devs and project leads that are still looking at gaming as probably the one category that's going to continue to do pretty well, I think, overall. Mavia, of course, is one that we like. They've got the Ruby Marketplace getting ready to launch. This is a few days on Mavia. And this is going to end up creating tons of microtransactions. I'm just going to show this a little bit. Tons of microtransactions, which again will start to, I think, do some interesting things with Mavia in terms of price point. But, again, not financial advice. These are projects that we like, projects that we're analyzing on an ongoing basis. And in many cases, we do breakdowns on these as well. Further into this, I want to go over to just their emission schedule, Mavia's emission schedule. This is their old one versus the new one. We haven't seen many kinds of moves like this when it comes to tokenomics by a game project very often. So this in itself is a big advantage. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on. Further into that, I want to get into Avalanche because there's some things happening here with Stripe. Remember the big news on Stripe? We did a big video on this the other day, but let me kind of zoom in on that because you may not be able to read it. Stripe, infrastructure platform, businesses fiat to crypto, now on-ramp supporting Avalanche C-Chain. Retailers can use purchase AVAX directly through Stripe. Key here is there's a couple of projects that are going to be integrating directly in. One of the projects that is going to be dropping in is a Web3 game called Shrapnel. So that in itself is a big benefit. Shrapnel, if you look at the chart on where Shrapnel is, I think I'll have it here in a second, I might jump to it, to give you guys an idea, this could be a big opportunity. Maybe this is an entry point if you like those kinds of Web3 games, and especially if you like Avalanche as a gaming ecosystem. Let me pull up, see if I can pull up a Shrapnel because it's usually down in our lower section. Yeah, right here. So you can kind of see Shrapnel where it's come from. All the way back here in December of 23, this thing was trading at around 41 cents, hovering at around 13 right now. Does it end up getting back down to support, which would be around 8? Maybe, but right now, Big Red is what we're looking at in terms of the, so is this a potential entry point for a Web3 game? If you're looking at long-term holding, these are the kind of strategies that I use, which is not looking at trying to trade some of these, even though there are some volatility opportunities here that this could move on in the next few months, and that might be an exit point, you know, for some of these projects. So that's just one to think about. But that was a big deal, I think, with what's happening over there on Stripe, which I think is a huge news. That's huge news for crypto in general. Furthermore, I want to get into Wilder World. This is a project that, first of all, they're a sponsor of the channel and our sponsor today, but Wilder World is doing some interesting things around different categories, racing, mining, combat, RPG, all that kind of thing. You guys, of course, probably are aware they did some project or a huge tournament over at New York NFT conference, and I think that's something that is going to start to really kind of set them a little apart. And if you also look at what they're doing, lining up for Consensus, which if you guys are not going to Consensus, maybe you should check it out because it's an event here in the United States, which we're getting fewer and fewer. But they have this whole thing around their Hot Laps tournament season, which is starting and it's leading up to Consensus. So you guys should check this out. They're going to be weekly Hot Laps, fastest lap time. They're going to reset every week. And then they're going to do weekly rewards. Winner of each week is now going to go into a real life tournament there at Consensus, which is in Austin. I'll be there. I don't know if I'm going to step by. I might stop by the tournament actually and check things out and get some video. But 16-head racing tournament will also model a lot of what they're doing around some of their partners. So lots happening over there with Wilder World. Now, do I own the token? Yeah, I own Wild. It's one that we've been tracking for quite some time, and it's one that I think has an opportunity. So again, don't forget, hit the like button right now if you like these kind of breakdowns. If you're into gaming, hit the like button. Let me know, because that kind of gives us some insights if you're into Web3 gaming and kind of where this is going. Now, you guys have probably watched us do several interviews now with Honeyland, the Honeyland team. And they have something kind of happening that I think is important. This is a tweet from HeNFT. And the big thing is in-game staking. That's happening. And this is something basically that I think will start to give more benefits. Again, remember this is a Solana game, one of the first Solana games. So Honeyland staking, another opportunity here. Trades under HXD if you're looking at the token. But if you're looking at staking and in-game assets, if anything, check out the game. It's a mobile game. I think you guys would like it to take a look at it. And if you want to learn more about it, go back to some of our interviews with Corey. We've done a handful of interviews with him, releasing a little bit about what they're doing and also some of the partnerships that they've been able to lock in on. So lots of good stuff. Parallel, many of you guys know this is Echelon Prime token. They also, big move here in the AI space. We'll continue to see, I think, some movement here. I'm interested in this token. I've had this token Prime in and out. I've traded both in and out of this one. It's been, extremely profitable for me, but I think these are some of those tokens that you should keep an eye on, especially if you want to go the AI route, because that's the other component that many people would look at. Do you go with the Web3 gaming as the narrative, or do you hang back and say, I'm going to try to, see if AI gets a strength position here. Now, there's a handful of AI projects out there. Akash, we've talked about. There's many that have showed up here on the channel over the past few months. And of course, Prime being one of them. Further into this right here is Bored Apes. They're doing some additional stuff, but this is getting into Root Network, and this is something that's important because you guys have asked me about Root Network and different variations on Twitter or in our private group. Remember, this is the only interoperable play for AI. So, and remember, Ready Player One also connected to this. So, this is an opportunity, I think, for maybe to get into Root Network. I would suggest if you are going to do that, only do it through the XRP network. So, just work your way, do your research, go out. Maybe this is one you want to jump into. Further into that, I think we have, we're going to get into some deep in and real world assets for you. And everybody's been asking me a lot about a particular token that may be very interesting, and here's why. And I'm going to go back to the real world asset chart, and we'll kind of take a look at something here. I want to jump in instead. I'm over on the stablecoins chart right now. So remember, you've got the treasuries right there. This is where you see BIDL, all that stuff happening. Then you come in and start looking at the movement over here with stablecoins. And as you can kind of see up there on the top left, I don't know if you guys are following along. If you're on the podcast, come over here to the YouTube channel and you can kind of follow along here. Guess what's coming next? Real estate. Coming soon. So real world assets starting to be tracked. Remember, this is also all supported by Coinbase. So is there a connection here to what could be happening in the real estate category? And one of the projects that we're watching very closely, in fact, we're going to have their CEO coming on the show, and that is Proy. Now, this is a 24/7 real estate. Think of this as Redfin for crypto, except being able to handle transactions. This is the kind of thing that I think when we see a real breakthrough, especially in real estate, maybe this is the project that does it. So this you can get on Coinbase. So it's one of those to take a look at, dive into it. If you understand real estate, maybe this is one of the routes for you. What else do we have? I'm looking at some chat over here on the sidebar, so make sure and drop some of that. I'll try to get to as many as I can. And don't forget, fill out the poll today so we can kind of see what you guys think we should be doing. Some other areas when you think about RWAs and just real world assets, obviously Chainlink, a big play. I still like Chainlink, one of my favorite tokens. Pith, I think we were one of the first channels to really call out Pith and love it. It's in the Solana ecosystem. Zeus Network, we've talked about them before. We like Zeus. Neon EVM, absolute performer, and then also it has kind of reversed down. I'll jump into some of the charts on that, and I want to kind of go in, because right now, Pith, and another one that I always like to mention is Jupiter, because Jupiter, of course, is, I think, going to be a very intriguing long-term play. And let's go over here. Let's see where Mavia is right now. So there's Mavia. Remember, Mavia has had two really nice pullbacks. This one, of course, was in March. And then that is kind of been positioned. Is this a good place for Mavia right now? Others that I'm looking at, let's go over to Pith, because it's one of our tokens that we track in the MSI as well. There's Neon EVM and then also Pith. So here's Neon after that big monster move in the open. Then we had this nice move right here between February right up to around 205, which was a good move, and it's course regressed down. So is this the spot for a dollar cost average on Pith? Long term, do I like this token? Yes. My question on Pith right now, or on Neon, is whether or not this project can hold on for the multiples of gains. And what I mean by that is when you guys are maybe looking at different projects, some of these are going to see anywhere from 10 to 20x gains. Then you're going to have a handful of them. They're going to see 3 to 6 or 8x gains. And you have to make that decision. Are you comfortable with that higher level of risk, or are you comfortable with maybe a little bit lower performance? And those are the kind of questions that you have to kind of ask yourself right now, because we are nearing a very intriguing time in this bull run as we start to move out. So I think it's gonna make or break some of the big guys. I want to go to a clip here that we'll talk about NFTs, because there's only a handful of NFTs that I would kind of recommend right now. I have one for you that I think is interesting, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm going to go to this clip real quick. Let's play this.
Very directly, man. NFTs, is it over?
Of course not.
I'm talking about NFT PFPs.
Never. What's happened in 2023 and 2024 is the unlock of leverage of NFTs. And so the second they start, gaining some momentum again, I think they're going to run greater than they've ever ran before. And I think the moves are going to be really violent, and I think you're going to see PFPs bigger than they've ever been once they catch the narrative again. I think in the bull market, what I've realized is you have to be bold. And I think it's time for us to take some big swings at bat and try to hit some home runs.
Examples?
Well, you'll find out. You'll find out in May.
Is something small now?
No, you'll find out in May. But I think you're going to see us really start taking some big swings at the fences.
All right, so that of course is Pudy Penguins, and Luca has been very vocal on strategies. Obviously, he's been able to hit some home runs here. Their deal with Walmart in real life, the explosion of Pudy Penguins becoming one of the major NFT assets out there. So them dropping something in May is and could be the genesis of this next bull run on NFTs. So if you are maybe standing back and thinking, all right, if I did want to get into an NFT, the way I would look at it is, what kind of utility is, in real world utility, could I get out of an NFT? One project that I advise for, full disclosure, is a project called Devour. And this is one I've mentioned before. And the reason I like it is it ties into the restaurant industry. You guys probably know I have a little bit of a tie into that. We have businesses in that area. And Devour has been able to do something that they call an industry pass. This is an NFT that basically rewards you for use. It also, and they just have this thing where they do earnings day, and I think that's tomorrow. So if you were to get an industry pass, they're like $150. You're going to start gaining value, and also there's benefits that you get with it, including additional value of the DPay token that eventually will become a currency for you to order food with. And I think as they start unlocking some pretty big deals, they're getting ready to do an airdrop. There's a lot of things happening with this. I think I can talk about that. But they're doing a lot of new things that are, I think, starting to really build a community. And they have a pretty active community on Discord and Telegram. So check it out if you guys think it might work for you. But it's, again, this is one, think food ordering, Uber, all connected now into Solana, Ethereum, tied into NFTs, reward systems, and them working with major brands starting to build this out. So it's a big win, I think, for the industry as we see it happen out there for sure. I want to get us some tokens, and we'll take a look at the poll real quick. I want to see where Bitcoin is right now, holding in. Let's move it over a little bit here. Man, that thing is really starting to push. So we're down at 59.8 on the day. Earlier we were filming right around 60. So we could see that target zone that we've been looking at, which is around 58.23 on this run. So is this a buy point? Now we are in 59 waters on Bitcoin. Is this one for you guys? This overlay that I've got in here, some of just our MSI data that I'm looking at on the charts. But with this being the point, where is your entry on Bitcoin? Do you feel like this 58 zone is the one that you're looking for, or do you think that we're going to be in a position where we start to regress a little bit further? Trends right now still pushing very heavy on negative sentiment for Bitcoin. All right, let's go over to the poll real quick. Take a look at what we have there. What's in the poll? All right, what should we DCA into? Top 10 tokens only. What happened to the degens? Gaming tokens, 16. AI and RWA. That's interesting. 39% kind of taking that. I would have to say, I'm kind of with you guys on the AI RWA tokens. You get into real world assets, there's a handful in there. I think that Proy token is going to be interesting. Mainly it's just Proy the project. Obviously, we know the implementation of what Avalanche has been able to do. Solana now moving into that. Ethereum. Some of those ecosystems really starting to move in strongly. So I'm in agreement with you. I think the top 10, just a little too soft for performance. I know, yeah, of course, Solana will probably do some pretty good X's. Avalanche most likely, but they're out of the top 10 right now. Where are they right now? Let's see, did they move any here on the top 10? No, Avalanche now slid down to 12, so Shiba has taken number number 11, and Cardano's still holding it at number 10. So Toncoin movement there. And then, of course, Solana kind of holding in a very solid position right now at number 5. All right, let's get to some questions. Wondering if people are front-running the sell in May stuff. Maybe. I mean, May is kind of past cycles that we've looked at. There's so many other influential scenarios that are playing out. What's happening in Hong Kong, what's happening with real world, what's happening with the ETFs, the global scenario, lots going on. What about Jasmine? We've mentioned Jasmine on the show before. In fact, we were very favorable on it. There's some very interesting things. It's an Asian project that I think you guys might think is pretty cool. Entry point on Proy. Proy. Let's see here. I won't give you an entry point. What I will say is just watch, because it is down. It's depressed just like all the other tokens right now. I think it's down about 30%. So this might be, if you were going to go in on it, it's a Coinbase token. So you can grab it over there. Pudgy is the only NFT I'd consider buying right now. Good for you, Flesh Pistol. Great, someone's going to cut that out. It used me saying that. Crypto King. Bitcoin dipped below 60 for the first time today. Yes, we are there right now as we're streaming. Bringing ourselves good luck here. APD says, safe moon. Okay, I don't know about that one. Any thoughts on mobile token? I still am very bullish on everything that's happening with Helium, the mobile token itself, what we'll see with Solana, the Saga device. I'm looking for some potential announcements on that soon. So that'll be a big one. The FOMC meeting, we will be, are we going to live stream that tomorrow, guys? Yeah, that's our plan. All right, so we are going to live stream it. And that, of course, will be a big one because Chair Powell could pull something on us. And I know he's not going to give us a rate reduction, but could he give us a rate increase? So a lot of people still saying, all right, it's neutral, no change, but things are happening out there in the market. Thoughts on XRP Ripple? I still hold my XRP. I'm not going to sell it. There's probably an exit point for me, but I just think Ripple is going to do some pretty cool things. And of course, the likelihood of an IPO is real. That could happen. Ondo, big token. One of our guys in the crypto pit loves that token. I don't know if he's still in it. I'll have to check with him. Jupiter, great product. One of the best, I think, out there. I just found out that, and I didn't even know this, that Coinbase was using Jupiter within Coinbase Wallet. So that was interesting. Star Atlas, great game. We've had Michael on a couple of times, and they continue to impress me. One, I think Michael has just got a good head on him, their CEO. And I think it's one to really keep an eye on. Veracity, I had high hopes for. I just haven't really been around it that much lately. Probably need to do a little bit more on that. Last time I heard H-Bar on your channel was with Mance Harmon. We talk about Hedera a lot. I know a lot of people don't think about that. We like the Hedera project. I am still believing that they are going to hit a home run on one of those council members that is going to blow them into the stratosphere. I believe that. It's just a matter of timing. Now, granted, they kind of had a little bit of weird news last week that drove that token into a crazy zone, and some people got hurt. Unfortunately, remember, always, guys, do the deep dives on this stuff. Don't go with the front end of what crypto Twitter is saying. So be careful out there. But we should have Hedera back on. I'd love to have Mance back on. If the Hedera team is listening or watching, you are welcome to come on anytime. We have open invitations for a lot of projects, and Hedera is always one. Thoughts on ADA? We've always had an open invitation to Cardano to come on the show. They just, they know our position on Cardano. We just, it's just different. Sweet. I like Sweet is another token that we should probably cover more for sure. Listen, what else do we have here? Gosh, there's so many. Solana is a good buy right now. Our crypto pit is grabbing up some for bags that they're working some different strategies on. So maybe it is if you're looking at short term and you want to kind of be looking at some swing trades. I'm not giving you trading advice, but Solana is always a good play to me. In that scenario. CZ got charged with 4 months. Isn't that something? but that was all money laundering. But I think that's about right for what, I mean, nobody got hurt. They just broke some rules. I mean, yes, of course, that's a problem. But, in the sense of, and in the greater, grander essence of things. Paul, are we at the bottom? Lovely dream catcher. I do not think we are there yet on this cycle yet. I don't think we've hit it. And I think we are going to see some corrections yet to go. Sentiment is definitely not playing in nicely right now. And I think the market, just because of what's going to happen with FOMC, probably continued pressure on inflation is going to continue to be a problem here going forward. Into the summer, I feel like this is going to be a choppy side. But here's where you guys have to watch out. Don't get flushed out of your hands. This is the time in which most people start bailing, and that's a problem. So thanks for the super chat. Don't forget, subscribe right now. Spend some time on this channel, learning a little bit. If you're brand new to crypto, go into our playlist, learn about the regulation, because we're getting ready to get some big regulation on stablecoins that I think will give the market a little bit of a genesis and a pump if we get something coming out of DC. Remember, a lot happening over in the EU. We just did a big video on that. Go check that video out because it gives you a lot of hope for where blockchain is going as a whole. And it's a good one to kind of get you framed up into a more global perspective around what's happening in blockchain. All right, you guys, if you're not a Diamond Circle member, get in on the Diamond Circle. It's a great place to get in on additional content. And guess what? If you're not following me on X, what's the deal? Let's get out there. Let's talk to each other. You can hit me there. And I'm going to be at Consensus in Austin. So if you're going, DM me. Maybe, you never know. We might buy some beers somewhere. Anyway, follow me next time. So we'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.